everybody. Welcome, Gary Spikes. Hello there, blue-eyed Northern. How's everybody doing today? Welcome to another edition, Val, and everybody, Henry. And how you doing there, Tracy?
I am doing extremely well, Grizz. Everything's going well. How are you doing, buddy?
Oh, doing wonderful. So I'm glad everybody's tuning in on this Wednesday evening. Warm up here. How about you?
I tell you what, it's extremely warm here. I think we're in the 80s today. It seems extremely warm anyway. So what are you up to, Bigfoot Outlaw?
I am just working on intros. Hello there, Standing Stones, Val, and Kyle Smith, and
I like that
Henry.
I like that name, Grizz. Bigfoot Outlaw. That's a good one. I like it.
Yes. So working on some commercials and everything. Just been real busy. So yes. So today, ladies and gentlemen, welcome everybody. Round of applause. We have a special guest. Last minute, she said yes, and I was very excited. I was like, yeah. I had to reach out to Justin Decker, but we have Amanda Stowers. Let's go ahead and bring her in. Amanda, come on down. So introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Well, good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Amanda Stowers, also known as Amanda the Bigfoot Lady. I've known Justin for quite some time, and I've actually interviewed with you once before, Grizz. And so I'm just a girl here in the North Georgia mountains who is a cryptid enthusiast, happen to have some paranormal Bigfoot, cryptid, everything type encounters growing up here in the mountains. And now I have the most amazing job in the world, and that is working for Expedition Bigfoot Sasquatch Museum. It's David Becerra's
awesome.
museum in North Georgia.
Yeah, that's awesome. I wish I had that job.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
So everybody's saying hello, Amanda. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone.
Amanda. Hello, Amanda.
So yeah, so welcome. So what got you into this field?
Like I said, growing up here in North Georgia, you always hear about, haints and boogers and other things that go bump in the night, very, very superstitious type people. So I also grew up in the church as well. So I am and still Christian. And so we also grew up very evangelicals as well. So not only were they, casting out demons and laying hands on healing people. So, the paranormal, if you want to just use that as a broad term, has always been a part of my life ever since I was young. So everything from, like I said, going to church and, seeing demons cast out, to having ghosts try to get me in my room, to having things scare me and my brother out of the woods. I've seen and heard it all, on top of all the great folklore that comes with growing up around here.
Yeah, so what a lot of people don't know, when I was growing up, you probably did the same thing or saw it. I was Southern Baptist, right? And when I was growing up, my dad didn't know where his records were going. And out back of the church, we would burn them. Did you used to do that too? Yeah.
Oh,
Tracy,
yeah.
You would burn them too, Tracy?
Oh no, I never burned records. No.
Oh, yeah.
What's that all about?
We used to play them backwards.
Oh, burn them. Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
literally burn them. I was like, oh my God.
But anyways, hope
yeah, I thought you were meaning literally burn them as well. Because yeah, we
no,
did
we
some
did.
of that.
They would have a barrel, and we would bring them to church. We would set them on fire. Praise the Lord. Amen. Yes. But anyways, Tracy's like, what? Yeah, we did. Beatles, Led Zeppelin, all that stuff.
No kidding.
Yeah. Tracy's like, I wasn't in the South, thank God. No, anyways, we did that stuff.
Yeah, we played a couple of records backwards here or there. The Chicago, though, I was listening to Chicago try to play it backwards, and it was like a gospel song, so I stopped playing it backwards. So, well, it's one way to shut everybody up, ain't it?
So, what was your first experience? And when you said booger, Tracy didn't know what that was. He was like, huh?
Yeah, I was curious.
Yeah.
Have you actually heard that term before, Tracy?
Well, I mean, I've heard the term booger before, yeah, but never in the paranormal side of things.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So, yeah, a lot of people in the Bigfoot world use that as a term for Bigfoot here in the Appalachian region of the United States. For me personally, I grew up with booger being kind of a broad term for anything unnatural, but still kind of like flesh and blood that, could be out in the woods at night. You always closed your windows, the blinds at night because you didn't want the boogers looking in the window at you. And then you had the other term, haint, which comes from haunt or haunting, and that it was more for like ghosts and that kind of stuff. And I've actually have heard it go both ways, but then again, it depends on who you're talking to.
Gotcha. Kind of like the boogeyman to an extent, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's definitely a play on words for boogeyman.
Oh, yeah. No, I'd never heard that before. That's interesting.
Yeah, up here in this part of Georgia, there's actually several places like Booger Hill, Booger Holler, and then you also go into like, Devil's Den, Devil's Valley, which, as we all know in the paranormal world, that has some interesting terms when you have places named like that as well. That's some good rabbit holes.
Well, I guess when you're in that area, you need to make sure of where you pick your boogers. I'm sorry, that's a horrible joke.
Poor Tracy. I'll give him A for effort, Amanda. Bless his heart.
Don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
My wife's calling me a dork right now. So yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I heard that.
Yeah, I'm a dork.
So have you ever had an experience with a Bigfoot?
I have, yes. I have never seen one. I have seen some kind of strange creature. Now, whether it was a Bigfoot or not, I don't know. And I'll go into more detail as I go through. So I have heard one, and I've had it run me and my brother out of the woods.
Oh, wow.
So when I was probably about 12, 13-ish, it would have been in 2001. And my brother and I were helping my father chop firewood on a piece of property. And so a little history, that piece of property is very, very old. Up here we have, Trail of Tears, Civil War, all of that kind of stuff goes in it. And this property had been in my family for probably 200 years at this point. So we used firewood because that was all we had. We didn't have heat and air here in the mountains. We were lucky we had indoor plumbing. So long story there, we were helping my father with that, and our uncle was out there, and he had just remarried, and he had a new stepdaughter. So she was out there with us as well, and they gave us teenagers a break to, from working all morning. So they were eating lunch, taking a break, and so they let us kids go. So me and my brother decided to take our new cousin out to the carving tree, or carbon tree, as I would call it here. Excuse me. And so this particular tree, from being on that property for so long, all the family members over generations had signed their name onto it. And it's really, really cool. We had the big, long hay field by the creek. So we had to walk all through the hay. And the hay was very tall, it was getting ready to be cut. And I mentioned that for a reason. And so it was very tall. It was probably up to my knees or my waist. And when we got to the tree, which is just inside the tree line, and it was up, there's this massive rock. So for anybody who's familiar with Southern Appalachia, we got a lot of big boulders, outcrops on our mountains. And so this particular tree had grew up right beside this giant rock. So up underneath the rock, you could see like where something had either bedded down or anything like that, where the mud and clay was all packed in. So my brothers would actually camp there sometimes. So I was up on top of this rock, up at the top of the tree, putting my name. I think I'd found it or was helping fix it. And my brother and my cousin had already taken care of, doing their part. And they were down at the bottom of the rock. And all of a sudden, my brother's like, Amanda, we got to go. Like, he's like, really? I was like, no, we'll go in a second. I'm almost done. He's like, no, we're going right now. He flipped out his pocket knife and started running. And then my cousin was running, chasing him. And I was like, oh, snap, I better go too. I don't know what's going on. Because obviously we have mountain lions, we have bears, which, it's not a good thing to run from a bear. But, I didn't know what was going on.
Right.
So I was taking off running with them. So they were ahead of me. So as soon as I came down from around the tree, I, running back, as soon as I got to the tree line there, right at the edge of the hayfield, the most god awful roar, scream, howl, something it was the loudest thing I'd ever heard in my life. And it was so loud that as I was running, it almost made me fall as I put my hands over my ears. And I'm looking out and I can see my brother and my cousin running into the hay, and all the birds that were in the hay shoot up. Like they're scared of whatever this was that was making this loud noise. I catch my feet and I catch up to my brother and my cousin, like, what's going on? What's going on? And my brother's like, I think it was freaking Bigfoot. And so we're running. We catch up back to my dad and my uncle. And, they see that we kids were upset and flustered. And my brother tells them what he saw, which apparently was right behind me. And I didn't see it. I'm actually really glad I never turned around.
Wow.
So we told my dad what was going on, and he just said, "Oh, you kids ran into the booger, didn't you?" Excuse me, wait. And they're like, so we had heard this story my whole life from my grandma, his mom, because she grew up on that property. She had family members and uncles who would not go onto that property at night because they were scared of the booger. I had always assumed it was a ghost because we do supposedly had a ghost that was on that property. We never put two and two together that was it. So went to my grandmother's that same evening, and we told her the same thing. And again, she said the exact same thing as my dad said. "Oh, you kids ran into the booger, huh?" Some of these stories, it'd been nice to have got a little bit more detail as I was growing up. So my brother said that where I was standing at the tree, probably no more than 50 to 100 yards behind me, was this humanoid ape type form, Bigfoot, and it was standing at one of the trees and kind of had one arm up, and it was leaning out over to the side like this so he could see the whole head, one shoulder and the chest and the legs as it came down. And he said that it was brown but orangutan-ish orange in color. This was daytime, so I guess maybe the light hit it just right to where it really illuminated it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But what he said scared him the most was that it had red eyes. And this was daytime, and he could see that.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly. So I said,
No.
I am, to this day, and interesting fact. So I moved out when I was 18. So me and my brothers have, life happens as you grow up, and sometimes you don't see or get to talk to each other that much.
Yeah.
Anyhow, here during the holidays, I finally got a chance to corner my brother and me and him talk about this, because me working at the Bigfoot Museum, I now share this experience quite often with people. And I want to just make sure I had my duckies in a row, that I was, sharing all the facts straight. And I was asking him, I said, "Brother, the one thing that I remember the most out of all of that encounter that happened was the roar, like how loud that was. And anytime we've talked about this in the past, you've never mentioned that." And he's like, "Yeah, I never heard a thing. I saw it. I turned around running, but I never saw or heard, I never heard a thing." And our cousin apparently never heard anything either. So all I could figure out is maybe I was zapped. If anybody in the Bigfoot world knows that term, it has to do with infrasound structure. So all I could figure out is that I got zapped by this thing, or either it, telepathy, mind speaks that roar into me to scare me away. I don't really have an idea on that. That's kind of my thoughts on it, just from hearing him talk about it. He's like, "Yeah, I saw it. It saw me see it, and it gave me this look of like, you kids better get out of here. You are barking up the wrong tree. Y'all don't need to be around here. This is my turf." And yeah, that's my Bigfoot encounter, my main one anyways.
For Tracy's like, "No way in heck I'm gonna." For Tracy.
Yeah. Red eyes and me just don't mix. That'd be like the Scooby-Doo cartoon. My body be gone, my legs still be there running.
That's kind of how it felt running out of there. I was like, didn't think my feet could catch up with me.
That is funny.
When you were mentioning at the beginning about yourself. You'd mentioned some things about ghosts.
Yes.
From the paranormal side, I'm interested in that. Not trying to get away from the grisly talk and the cryptids. We can come back to that. But
That's okay.
what experience have you had with the paranormal side of things with the
I've
ghosts?
had several. I've seen several ghosts. One of them was my deceased grandfather. And that one was fairly recently, within the last couple of years. We were actually, my husband and I were in a bad financial stripe for a little while, so we were actually living with my grandmother to also assist taking care of her. So this would be her husband, my grandfather, which actually happens to be the same grandma from the Bigfoot thing. Anyway, I was sleeping and I could have swore I heard my husband beside me go, "Amanda!" It's like real loud, just enough to kind of wake me up. And so I had my back to him and I roll over and I look, he's dead asleep, but I look and in the window, I can see from the light, because my grandma had one of those outside floodlights, and you could see a silhouette of a man standing there on my hubby's side of the bed. And like just instantly, I don't know why or where it came from, but just I instantly knew that's Papa Edwin. And I just felt peace. I didn't feel fear. It was more like he was there to protect me from something, is the feeling that I got from it. And I just said, "Oh, hey, Pop," and went back to sleep. I don't remember.
Oh, wow.
Because I've had so many paranormal-esque encounters in my life that I just kind of file them back after a certain point, and that being one of them. We rented a house one time that was haunted. The landlord's father, that was his house, and apparently I guess he had passed away in that house. It was their family home. It was a cute little house. And some nights, I just kind of got that like sixth sense on the back of your neck, like I'm not here by myself. And one night I was there by myself and I happened to be like sweeping the kitchen, and that feeling just kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I happen to turn and look, and I see a silhouette of a man standing in the doorway between the kitchen and the living room where I was working. But I couldn't make out like a face or anything. Yes, exactly. um, he had a red ball cap on, like a trucker's type hat. And I just, I jumped and I screamed enough to see him. And I just hollered at him and said, "That's not cool. Don't do that." And that's the only time I ever seen him. After that, he never came back around. Growing up, again, as I said, as I did in the church, I guess being so sensitive as I was to the spiritual realm, I was always one that, as a kid, I would see a lot of like shadows in corners. I would have that sixth sense of stuff bothering me. I couldn't watch scary movies because, it just plaguing me with terrible nightmares. I would sleep with a Bible under my pillow, that kind of thing. So, I was all the time seeing shadows in my bedroom, and my mom and them would come and anoint the house and have it prayed over and get rid of the haints that way. And so sorry, my brain's going as I'm thinking because I'm having to dig. I'm like, okay, there's that one, and then there's that one. Yeah. So in church, yeah, I have seen angels at the pulpit. And they were more like just like light beings, kind of like more, not necessarily a silhouette, but just like, just a really bright light presence at the altar. So what made me go, oh, is I remembered when I did see a demon once or twice. Once was when it was cast out there at church. It was just a shadow form that instantly came out of this person and shot under the benches at church and then went out the window. But the big one was, it was probably near, actually, well, let's see. My brother, I have 4 brothers, so I'm like, okay, he would have been that old. So this would probably been before the Bigfoot thing, just by how old my baby brother was. So this was my youngest brother. He had just graduated from a crib to a toddler bed. And, we grew up poor, so this was a hand-me-down one.
Yeah.
And my baby brother would just scream and scream and scream and scream, and he would not sleep in that room. And he was so excited about that toddler bed. And so we were playing hide and seek one night with us and like all the neighbor kids and everything, because my mom, always watched all the kids in the neighborhood. And I went to go hide in my baby brother's room. There was no lights on. But when I opened the door to the bedroom, there was a light on the bed, but there was a shadow form sitting on that bed, sitting almost like, you had dropped a doll there. It had its legs out where it was sitting and its arms down by its side and its head, and it turns and looks at me. And all I see is these glowing eyes piercing into me. And I instantly knew that this was evil, that this was not good. It was evil. And I was just frozen there for a second.
Yeah.
And I went and after I finally got it, it just kind of like just kept staring at me and looking at me. And somehow or another, either a sound behind me or something broke me to where I was able to shut the door and close the door. And I went and told my mom what was going on, and she immediately called one of her church friends, and they went and they got out the holy water, they got out the anointing oil, they came over. And the one lady, she was also very, very spiritually perspective. She instantly knew as soon as she walked. She said, Dana, my mom's name, she said, Dana, there is something bad here. There's something very bad here. We've got to get this out. And so we all went to town praying and anointing and casting it out. And the church, I forget the lady's name, but yeah, she said that unfortunately there was a very unclean spirit that was attached to that bed due to some very bad things that had happened. And I'm just going to leave that blank there for people to.
What do you mean bad things? What a cliffhanger?
We're talking about children here. I'm trying to keep it PG.
Oh, okay. All right.
Wow.
Yeah, think adrenochrome and fill in the blanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I've had lots of crazy experiences in my life. And the other, since we're going down and I'm sharing all these stories, as far as the paranormal goes, that's about all I can think of off the top of my head currently. But the other cryptid creatures that I have seen, I interviewed previously with Chris and Justin that they had an episode concerning modern day dinosaur sightings. So when I was very young, I saw a pterodactyl type thing flying over my parents' house, and it's still just burnt into me like a picture. This, what I said at the time, a bird fly over the tree there, and I'm looking at it, and it's looks like a woodpecker because the beak, and it had red, but it had the point that came out of the back of the head, and the wings were membranous, excuse me, which they didn't have feathers. I could actually see yellow and like the veins coming through it, and it was so silent as it flapped and just kind of glided on over the house. And I was like, what the world? I was a kid, so I just kind of looked at it. I was like, okay, that was weird, and went back to playing in the dirt. But the other thing that may or may not have been a Bigfoot or Sasquatch, something that I saw, was actually probably around the same time that my brother and I got ran out of the woods by Bigfoot. There was a lot of the paranormal stuff that was going on in my life around that time. So this was at my parents' house again, and us and all the neighbor kids were in our driveway, but on the edge of the driveway up in the woods, we had a quote unquote fort area, as kids do. And it was fall, and all the leaves had just fell, so they were very, very crunchy and very orange in color. And I mentioned that for a reason. And so my brothers and the other neighbor kids had done hop down, was going to get on our bicycles and go ride around. They hollering at me, saying, "Hey, Amanda, come on, let's go." And as I'm doing that, as I'm walking towards them, I hear something rustling behind me. But it's coming up like really fast, like, the leaves coming. And so I turn and I look. And again, we've all heard in other, I've heard witnesses say 1,000 times, and I know you have heard, it's like time slowed down. I'm looking and I see this thing as it's spread out, arms flat, laid on its belly, with its head down, mouth open. And I refer to it as the bearskin rug creature because that's exactly what it looked like to me. What my brain was trying to figure out what it was, and I'm looking at it, it's like, that's not a bear. What is that? But what was so crazy is that I could only see from the shoulders down to about the mid waist. The rest of it blended in completely with the leaves, as well as the face and stuff kind of did, but it had its mouth open and just looked at me, and I was like, I was trying to figure out, like, what the heck am I looking at? And this is all within just a few seconds. And my brothers and them hollered me, "Amanda, come on." Turn again, look at them. I turn and look back. That thing is gone. I 100%, I don't want to swear, but I will put my hand on a stack of Bibles that I saw whatever that was. I don't know what it was. It was the creepiest thing I've ever seen. It didn't look like a Bigfoot from like the typical descriptions of it. It didn't look like a bear. I don't know what it was. I don't know, is that whatever it was, it wanted me to know it was there because you could hear it coming up, and then it was half blended in, but I could still see it, but it's laying there with its mouth open, trying to figure out, what this was. No idea. If anybody out there has any clues, please let me know.
Oh yeah, those are Gary, what's those Bigfoot called that looks like a Bigfoot and a bear, and they're meaner and snot? Pugways or igways, or what are they called? I can't think of it. That's awful. I don't know right offhand. There's a term for them. Gugways. Yes, gugways.
Gugways? I'm going to actually write that down.
Yes, they're called gugways. And I think pugways. Yes, pugways. Yes, pugways.
Or pugwudging? Or
pugwudgies or something.
Yeah.
Too bad we don't have audio where somebody can say it, but it's something like that. Yeah, they are meaner than snot.
Yeah.
And they look, by people's descriptions, it's in. So this is where we get subway. Yeah, it's like a pugway, subway, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like people get them confused, and they get confused between a dog man and a Sasquatch.
Mm-hmm.
Because they get them confused the way they look. So I know what you're talking about. So yes.
Okay.
So Standing Stone says they're like troll things. Oh, here we go.
I'll take it.
But yeah, just like what you described. So yes. So Gugway or Pugway or something like that. Yes. Pugwuggies or trolls, or y'all get me confused now. But yes. So somebody will get us straight here.
If somebody somewhere will get it straight, that's all good.
Yes, but yes, that is actually Skywalker. Yeah, but you saw what you saw. Yes.
Yep. That's my encounters, my stories. Oh, and the museum possibly has a ghost, and I've seen him too.
Wow.
What do you think throughout your lifetime? Why do you think that obviously the Bigfoot stuff like that would be because of the area, possibly the area that you're in, but why would you think the spirits or you're so attracted to this, or they're so attracted to you?
There's two reasons. One is that I think it's in my blood. My family, especially all the women in my family on my mother's side, have always been very spiritually perceptive to things on the other side of the veil. And then also, again, that comes with my Christian faith. I think that a lot of these things that go bump in the night that aren't so good can see the good in me and are trying to attack that, especially as a child. They're trying to, instill that fear in you. And so that's how I've always perceived it, is that or at least that's how my mom and my grandma would always tell me, is just like, they just, the boogers just see the Jesus in you. And so they're just trying to scare it out of you. And so that's how I've always taken it. And again, that's how I perceive a lot of this stuff nowadays as an adult. It's just what makes sense to me.
I agree with you 100% on that. And I'm going to use a different example though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was raised, in the church as well.
Mm-hmm.
And not so much paranormal, but like I find myself, getting up to go to church in the morning, but there's always that fight of, man, I should sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
I really need to go today. And I find that, throughout not just church, but other things too, so I understand exactly what you're saying when it comes to that. They see that side of you and they're trying to get into it to keep you away from the good.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's kind of what my thought is. Not necessarily evil, but to keep you away from the good, to keep you involved.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that statement as well.
See, Grizz, something smart can come out of my mouth every once in a while.
I didn't say it couldn't. I didn't say it couldn't, because
No, I'm
people
just kidding.
say Bigfoot knows your intentions and they can sense what you are, a good person or a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
So, and people theorize that for many, many years. So yes, that is a possibility as well.
Yeah, and a lot
Whether
of the
it's a
natives thought
pugway
the
or
same thing as
gugway.
well.
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely.
Now, when you go out hunting for Bigfoot now, I know Chris has talked many times about his experience and how he prepares and how he does all that. I'm interested in your sight on that. How do you get prepared, and what do you do when you get there to not necessarily lure them in, but to try to find them?
Yeah. Well, I'll stop. One thing, I don't actually try to go out and find them because, one, I don't want anything to follow me home. Having had so many bad experiences as a kid, I don't want that anymore here as an adult. And my dear sweet husband puts up with me and all my other cryptid and paranormal-esque. I don't want anything like that to come and start bothering him as well. So, but I do go out in the woods a ton. My hubby and I hike and mountain bike a lot, and we love to go riding up in the mountains. So whenever we go, I will just pray, and then I'll even, just speak out loud and make my intentions known. Like, hey, I'm just here to have a good time, to enjoy the nature out here, just to see the prettiness, take care of my body by going for a walk. I mean, no harm. Please just, let me enjoy this time. And 99% of the time I've been pretty good. There's only been once or twice where I've just been like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't be on this trail. Maybe we should go back the other way. But that's really the only way I really do that is just to, like you said, put my thoughts and my intentions out there, cast, as we say in church, shine your light. So I do try to do that, shine my light out there, and like I said, put my intentions out there. And it seems to work all right for me anyways, personally.
Yeah, that's true. That's what a lot of people say to do. So absolutely.
Have you brought up attachment with the Bigfoot, stuff like that? Have you ever felt as though you've had an attachment, whether it's in the paranormal side or if it's as far as the spirits go, or on the paranormal side with the cryptids?
Definitely on the paranormal side. Um, I had some toys that were given to me as a child that had some stuff attached to it that, we had to get rid of. And the same thing with some of the like I said, I wouldn't watch a lot of scary movies because sometimes the into the evilness from it, if we're gonna, whatever terminology you want to use, could come from that, or from a book I might read or something like that, and attach itself to me, and then I'd have to pray to get rid of it, or have my parents or my mom pray, that kind of stuff, if that makes sense at all.
It does.
Yes, ma'am. You had mentioned that your husband goes with you and stuff like that. experienced anything. Obviously, with you, it sounds like in maybe in the bedroom, maybe you had told him a few things about seeing your grandpa, stuff like that. Has he ever experienced anything with you that he's like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here?
I actually asked him that recently. I was like, now that I'm thinking more on it, I'm putting these. I was like, I've had a lot of stuff. Is like, so have you ever experienced anything? And he's like, actually, no, not that I can think of. I've I believe in ghosts and these kind of things. I'm still skeptical on Bigfoot, but I 100% believe you. And yeah, I've told him about my grandpa's ghost being on his side of the bed. He's like, "Why'd you have to tell me that? This is creepy. Don't tell me that." And I was like,
Right.
"Yeah," but jokingly, of course.
So we discussed the paranormal. We discussed the cryptids. What are your thoughts? And have you had any experiences with the UFOs or aliens or anything like that? That comes up a lot lately.
It does, and actually, I have not. Um, out of all the crazy things that I have had and have seen, haven't seen a UFO. I've seen like maybe a star that might be moving, and I was like, it could be a plane. I don't know. Nothing that I would quote unquote attach the term UFO or UAP to, which is actually kind of bizarre when you think about it. All the other crazy stuff that I've seen and done, but yeah, aliens or UFOs is something that's never popped up, and I'm kind of okay with that. But at the same time, I'm extremely curious. I'm like, I kind of want to see
Yeah.
one, but kind of don't, kind of do.
So Roger's like, I saw you on TikTok today, Amanda.
Woohoo! Yeah, my TikTok apparently is blowing up.
So
Well, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Roger, she works at a museum and runs it. So welcome,
No, I do
Roger, at
not run the
Squatch and Holler.
museum.
You work
Yeah,
at
no,
it, don't you?
I do, but I don't run the place.
Wow, she runs the place. So,
No, I
but
got I no, I can't take any credit for that. The only reason I say that is because David Becerra and his wife Melinda have done such an amazing job with that place. And I might want to make sure that they always get all the credit that they need and deserve for that, because David put his heart and soul into it. He
and
built
what's the
the
name
whole
of
thing.
it again?
Expedition Bigfoot, the
There we go.
Sasquatch Museum,
There we go.
Fairy Log or Blue Ridge, Georgia. And I'll try and throw up their website link in the comments here later for you,
Awesome.
everybody.
Awesome.
And yeah, he built the whole thing by himself. And all the attractions, the exhibits, a lot of it was all donated by other Bigfoot researchers and just other cryptid enthusiasts. And it's a one of a kind. It's really awesome.
That's great. Really is. And that's
The
in Georgia?
Yeah,
Yes, sir. North Georgia here, Blue Ridge, Georgia.
Blue Ridge, Georgia, Roger. There you go. Awesome.
we've discussed before with other guests with the Bigfoot stuff, the idea of cloaking and how that
Mhm.
could come about. And people have also discussed the possibility of, alien life form cryptid could be involved with the cryptid
Mhm.
or Bigfoots and stuff like that. Have you heard that? What are your
Oh yeah.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've definitely heard that theory. As there's so many different theories out there on these creatures or beings, whatever terminology you want to use. And yes, the interdimensionality or spirituality of them, or the possibility of them being aliens, or I've even heard theory of us being the aliens and them being the original hominoid for our planet Earth here. So yes, I've heard quite a few of those theories. My thoughts on it, I don't actually know. I do lean more towards those um, paranormal theories on these creatures, just from personal experience and just from so many witnesses that I have talked to over the years of working at Expedition Bigfoot. There's definitely something more to these beings than just being a flesh and blood creature. And the way I describe it is that, not only us humans, we can have quote unquote supernatural abilities. People can have the ability to use telekinesis, to speak with their minds, to astro project, things like that. So why can't these beings also have the same abilities if they are just a flesh and blood creature? Maybe it's because they are so much bigger, their minds could be bigger, and they could be able to use more of those abilities than what we can. That's just one of my many theories that I have.
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think about that, Grizz? About what she was saying there?
So there are many theories, right? So my thing is, if we stopped and think about the DNA, the Meldrum Ketchum DNA back from 2012, 2013, if you go to our website and you look at the Bigfoot DNA that's on record, it's open to the public, and which anybody can research, and we look at what is public, right? I'm not a scientist. And we look at the nuclear DNA, and we can see that the chromosomes, right, are from a female, right? Let's see. Let me back up. Yes, but not the father of a
Yeah,
human.
the female mitochondrial DNA is human, and
Human,
then
but not the
the
father.
male side is unknown, or
Right. Not human.
doesn't fit anywhere in the known
So
spectrum.
now we can put that in biblical reference, and we can
Yes.
talk about Nephilim. And then we can talk about Dogman and other cryptids, and we can get very biblical and use the Bible as reference. However, then we can talk about our government. And we want to go into a rabbit hole. What is the government keeping secret from us? What is the government does not want the human race to know? That is so bad that would ruin the human evolution. Is it us that really is the human experiment? Is it us, the aliens of the galaxy? It's not the technology. Technology we know they have. There's something that's very devastating that will ruin our lives. So think about that and chew on that for a moment. I'm just saying.
Hey, no, you trust me, you're not saying something I haven't already thought of.
So, and people don't realize when I put a spin on that, and we brought that up about the DNA on one of our shows not too long ago, and people are like, shut the front door. I'm like, no, it's public. And there are people in the Bigfoot world that went on record and talked about this. Not only Ron Moorhead, but other people that are well known, and people did not pay attention. And I was like, are you not listening? And I'm like, people, stop and think about this. There are people that you all bow down to in this Bigfoot world that has made comments on record, and you all just didn't listen, pay attention. And I didn't even know they did it 5 or 6 years ago. And I was like, where was I when they said that? And I was like, yeah, it made me stop and think. And then we want to know why there's other cryptids in the world. And it made me stop and think about my reality. Then about aliens and other stuff. I'm just saying, you all.
It definitely makes you question reality. That's for
I
sure.
know God exists. I do know God exists. I'm not saying God does not. God creates everything, real and unreal. So yes, he does. It does. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there are things that walk upon this earth that we don't realize it does exist. I know that for a fact. So, but a lot of people don't realize this. But anyways, but yes, poor Tracy's like, what? Yes, Tracy.
No, hey man, I appreciate you saying that Grizz. It makes a lot. Does make a lot of sense. You know.
Well, I tell you, when we talked about this on one of the shows, one of my co-hosts just had a meltdown, and he went out to the Meldrum's Ketchum's website and was like, I can't rate DNA, but I did some studies, and he freaked out. So I'm just saying. So yeah, and Huey not only what the government has actually created. That's right. So yes, Lydia. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
I truly believe in that created part of that too. That I think the government's created a lot of stuff, and we just don't know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's out there. So
There's actually a movie coming. I can't think of the name of it. Annabelle, or not Annabelle, not the ghost, but talking about the Area 53. And there's that folklore out there about a person that a father had his daughter go through all these experiments trying to make the perfect soldier, and it ended up basically in the movie makes it out to be a demon, right? But it's based on half fact and half fiction. Uh, the person is she lost a lot of color, lost a lot of skin, became like unrecognizable from this pretty woman to just a atrocious looking person, and they just kept injecting her. And if you ever get a chance to look it up, gosh dang it, I can't think of the name of that movie. It's just now coming out. But it's really interesting because it's based off of a somewhat true story. The guy actually did exist, and he actually did put his daughter through these experiments, and just trying to make that perfect soldier. So if they could do that to his own daughter, who else did they do that to? They've created stuff. I honestly
oh
want
yeah,
to believe it.
absolutely, yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox. Sorry about that.
No, you're
No,
fine.
you're
You're
good.
fine. So, but it's just amazing, right? Because there's stuff that we cannot understand, right? And when they first developed the quantum mechanics in a computer and see how that operated, and they're like, this is the future. I'm like, man, that's already been made and developed. They're just trying to do a commercialized one for us to see. I mean, that's just old technology. So yeah, and she's right. And there's a guy from the government that was on a show not too long ago. He's like, man, the stuff you see on TV, it's already happened. And I was like,
Mhm.
shut the front door. I was like, shut the front door. I was like, he's going to end up dead. Watch. Trust me. So, I mean,
Abigail's the name of that movie. Sorry, Chris.
so no, it's just amazing. And just people are so blinded. But anyways, yes.
They've been on the fluoride too long.
Oh my gosh. We used to do that in school all the time, stand in line from the class. Did you do that, Tracy?
What is it?
Fluoride?
Fluoride?
Yeah, stand in line in class to get your cup to swish with in school.
Oh yeah. No, I got you. Yeah. We used to do that. Yeah.
So, but Amanda, I'm glad you came on the show. How does everybody find you and follow you on TikTok? Evidently.
Yeah. So you can find me on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, but mostly on TikTok. I'm working on trying to get the others back up and going, and even YouTube Shorts as Amanda the Bigfoot Lady. And you can also, if I can, I want to plug in the museum that I work for,
Absolutely.
Expedition Bigfoot, the Sasquatch Museum, and it's just expeditionbigfoot.com. And check them out because they do a great job at trying to get the word out there about these beings, and also planting those seeds for children that this world is a lot stranger than we think, but it shouldn't be strange to think.
No, absolutely. And yes, and they're a good museum, and I give them a shout out as well. What do you think, Tracy?
No, I know. Great guest. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, you're very
Yeah,
welcome.
absolutely. And from coast to coast, everybody around the world, we'll see you at 9 o'clock. Thanks again, Amanda.
See
Thank
ya.
you.
Bye bye.